Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ania and today I'm gonna take you through my book haul, the collection of books that I bought over the last week or so. So I don't really tend to buy one specific genre. I usually kind of jump in between genres because I like to read everything and really anything. So I got to the point when I actually probably buy more books than I can read. So that's not good. I need to definitely change that. So I either have to start reading more or simply buying less. So let's begin. The first two books are by Frederick Brandt. So Frederick Brandt is the author of The Man Called Ov. And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. We read it a couple of years ago for one of my book clubs, and that book was phenomenal. It was so funny, so unique. So Frederick Brandt is actually a Swedish writer, and I think in his writing, you can tell that by the sense of humor, because his sense of humor is very, very unique. So the first book is called Britt Marie Was Here. So it's a story of a middle-aged woman that basically spent her life making other people happy, and when she is in her mid-60s, her husband decides to leave her for a much younger woman. So Britt Marie is obviously left alone, but she is terrified of dying and other people not noticing that she died. So Britt Marie actually decides to get a job, her first job ever. She doesn't really know anything aside from maintaining the household, because that's exactly what she was focused on. So unique thing about Britt Marie is that she's a little bit compulsive obsessive when it comes to cleaning and certain ways. So I expect this to be very funny, but I'll let you know once I'm done. So the second book by Frederick Brandt is My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. So first of all, title itself, it's already hilarious. So I know this book's gonna be funny. Even though when I read the back cover, what this is about, it doesn't seem funny. So it's pretty much the story of Elsa, who's seven years old, and she's different. Her best friend is her grandma, who's also so-called crazy. So every night, Elsa and her grandma are best friends, and every night grandma tells Elsa stories about people that don't fit, people that are unique, people that are different. When the grandmother dies, she leaves behind a set of letters written to people that she wants to apologize to, and she asks Elsa to deliver those letters. So the adventure begins, because Elsa goes to deliver the letters, and during her adventure, I think she gets to meet people that are just different and unique, just like herself. So it doesn't sound funny, but I bet it is. I'm pretty sure it is. So I have very high expectations towards these two, and I actually can't wait to read them. Another set of books is by Stephen King. So I did read few of Stephen King's books when I was a teenager, and I simply don't remember how I felt about them. In my mind, I feel like I should love his writing, I should love his books, because everyone loves Stephen King. But I don't know if that's the case. So I decided to pick few of the well-known books that he wrote and start from that, So the first one is The Shining. So it's a very well-known story of Jack and his family. Jack decides to become a caretaker of a hotel, I think located in Colorado. So obviously during the winter time, the hotel is empty. And because of the weather, of the snow, whoever decides to stay there, they're kind of on their own and separated from the rest of the world. Jack is a struggling writer and he also suffers with alcohol addictions. He thinks that kind of separating himself from the rest of the world will be a good way for him to, to stop thinking about drinking. But the hotel, it's not just a simple regular hotel. There are monsters, and Jack's son Danny has a gift, the shining, so he can actually see the monsters or like dead people and talk to them. So that's pretty much the main premise of it. I do remember watching a movie with Jack Nicholson, I believe, but again, it was many years ago, so I really don't remember much. Doctor Sleep, it's a continuation of The Shining. So in Doctor Sleep, Danny, who was a little boy, I think Danny was 5 years old in the first book. Now he's a grown man who also suffers with alcohol addictions. And on top of it, he is struggling with managing his gift, The Shining. So Danny now lives in New Hampshire and he works at nursing home. And basically he assists old people during the process of dying. And while there, Danny meets a little girl, Abra, who also has a similar gift. So that's what I know about this. I did hear from a friend that Doctor Sleep is actually better than The Shining, but you obviously need to read The Shining to read Doctor Sleep, so I'll do exactly that. And the third book by Stephen King is The Pet Cemetery. So I know this one is super scary. That's what everyone says. I do not know what it is about. I imagine it's about a pet cemetery. But I think, yeah, so I might wait a little bit before I read this because I'm not, that's the thing, I wanna read Stephen King, but I'm not really that into being scared. I don't like being scared, I hate horror movies. I never watch them, so I'm not sure, but I'll definitely give it a chance at some point. Another book that I purchased is called The One to Watch. The One to Watch is by Kate Stayman London, and this book, it's Kate's debut. I did see some good press in regard to this book. So it's a story of a plus-size blogger slash model who gets an offer to participate in a reality show. And the reality show that she's going to participate, it's kind of our equivalent of the Bachelorette. So our protagonist agrees to join the reality show because she feels like it's a mission that she wants to show the world that women that look like her also deserve to be loved. So obviously she is giving a choice. I think she needs to choose one of 10 men, I think, that take part in that show. And at the end, she kind of should marry one of them. I think that's my understanding. So I heard it's really like cute and funny, so I do love the cover. I think cover is beautiful, so I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Another book, The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hawkwood. So when I read the premise of this book, I knew I had to get it because this book, it's definitely up my alley. It's the story of the librarian Claire that is responsible for so-called unwritten wing of the library that is located in hell. Yes, in hell. So unwritten wing, it's a collection of books that have never been finished. And I think from what I can tell, it's not as simple, because I think the twist here is that those unwritten characters can come to life, and Claire's responsibility is to make sure that they do not escape the hell. But I think she fails and one of the characters is able to escape, and she is traveling to Earth to actually catch it. Story sounds amazing because I absolutely love books about books. If I was to choose one type of a book that would be my favorite, that's exactly what it would be. It would be books about books. So I think it's going to be phenomenal. Very high expectations, very high expectations. So another set, 2 books by Helen Hong. So the first one is called The Kiss Quotient. So obviously it's a love story, like we can tell right away, and I think this was her first novel. It was her debut, and it was very, very successful debut from what I can tell, from what I read. It's a story of Stella. Stella is a very gifted mathematician, I think, that writes a super successful algorithm that predicts sales. Stella sells her algorithm and makes gazillions. So she is now a very wealthy woman, but unfortunately, she's lonely. She has no experience whatsoever with relationship. She has never been in a relationship. She has never had a boyfriend, partner, nothing. So Stella decides to learn. So, and she decides to learn about relationships from professionals. So she hires escort service. And the story begins, I guess, you know, and the adventure begins, or the love story begins. On top of it, I guess, what makes it unique, Stella has Asperger's syndrome, and she is absolutely terrified of French kissing. Heard good things about this. I think it's a perfect summer read, so again, I should be able to read this one pretty soon. Another book by Helen Hong is The Bride Test. So Bride Test, it's a story of Kai. Kai is autistic, and he has a problem experiencing feelings the way other people do. So Kai's mom decides to find him a wife, and she goes to Vietnam to find a perfect mail-order bride, and I think she does. So again, another very summery, very summery read, and I'd be getting into this pretty soon. So this is The Shadowland by Elizabeth Kostova. So Elizabeth Kostova wrote The Historian, and I read that book few years ago, and I remember loving it. So when I saw that she also published another novel, I knew I had to get it. So this one is a story of a young American girl that decides to move to Europe, to be specific, to Bulgaria. And I think she makes that decision right after her brother dies. So I think her name, the protagonist's name, is Alexandra. Yeah. So Alexandra goes to Bulgaria, and the first thing that happens to her, she tries to help like elderly couple to get into a taxi cab, and somehow they leave behind a piece of luggage. Inside that luggage is a wooden box, and inside that wooden box there are human ashes. So what Alexandra does, she goes on this search to actually find people that these ashes belong to, or the family of a person that are now in a box. And I think the twist here is that the person in the box, or the ashes in the box, belong to a famous musician. That's all what I know about this. Sounds very interesting. So again, it's a little bit longer read. It's a pretty thick book, I think. So again, beautiful, also beautiful cover. I really like the aesthetics of this. So looks promising, or sounds promising. Almost there, guys. Few more. So another one is The Paris Wife by Paula McLean. It's a love story between Ernest Hemingway and his wife. So it's a story of them meeting back in 20s in Chicago, and then kind of traveling to Paris and living in Paris, and you know, it's just a story of their life. So I think it's going to be super interesting. So I've never read anything by Paula McLean, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay. All right. Sip of coffee. Okie dokie. The last two. And the last two are definitely summer reads, okay? The both books are by Madeline Wickham, and it's the same lady that wrote the Shopaholic series. I've never read that one, but I've seen movies and they were hilarious. So when I saw the covers of these two books, I thought that's exactly what I need. You know, you always have to have a book of that type on hand just to read in between more ambitious books. So that's why I picked these two, and the covers are beautiful, you know, very summery, bright colors. So the first one, The Gate Crusher, so from what I can tell, it's a story of a lady that basically crashes the funerals. She goes to funerals and seduces the widowers, and obviously she scams them for money, and that's how she supports herself and her daughter. So I imagine at the end she probably actually marries one of them or something like that. And The Wedding Girl, so it's a story of a girl that basically has everything going on for her. She's successful, wealthy, she's engaged, and very handsome man, and he loves her dearly, and they're getting married. So she is preparing the wedding, but I think someone from her past appears and things get a little bit complicated. That's it. That's all I know about this. And again, you know, it's not something, it's a book that you will read once and probably never read it again. But that's it. Those are the books I bought during my most recent haul, I guess. Those weren't purchased all at once, of course. I usually buy them over a period of a few days, but yeah. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please hit thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye!